Welcome back to the channel. Please like and subscribe to help the channel grow and leave suggestions for future videos. Today's battle report is the Battle of Greenbrier River and is a battle that resulted from Union forces attacking Confederate forces close to Camp Bartow after descending from Cheat Mountain. So what led to this battle? In April, after refusing to surrender, the Union forces garrisoning Fort Sumter were fired upon by Confederate artillery, effectively starting the war. On July 21st, the first Battle of Bull Run was fought, which, after being a close-run thing for most of the day, ended with the Union Army routed from the field in panic, along with the Washington Society members who had come out for a jolly afternoon to see the Revolution crushed. Several months passed with smaller actions taking place, especially in the east, until we reach October 1861. During the night of October 2nd to 3rd, Brigadier General Joseph Reynolds, with 2 brigades, advanced from Cheat Mountain to reconnoitre the Confederate position. Reynolds drove in the Confederate pickets and opened fire with his artillery. After sporadic fighting and an abortive attempt to turn his enemy's right flank, Reynolds withdrew to Cheat Mountain. We are using the force lists and deployments from the Black Powder Glory Hallelujah supplement. The Battle of Greenbrier River is a brand new scenario, the only one that hasn't been seen before, and the order of battle has the benefit of being relatively small, and as the scenario suggests, it will ensure that the number won't impede initial learning, so it's a good starter game. The battlefield itself is relatively sparse. You have hills on both sides, and you have the snaking river through the centre. The only building is right in the centre, just at the crossroads, where the river gets crossed by the roads. To give it a little bit of flavour, I've put a few trees in, a few farm fields, and a few fences just to give it a little bit of extra interest. Regarding the initial positions, or should I say plans, so I was controlling the Union and Joe was controlling the Confederates for this game. So my initial plan was to send one of my brigades down the right hand side and try and cross the river pretty swiftly before the Confederate forces could check me, whilst I was going to send my second brigade to the left to cross over and again take control of the left side. Unfortunately, my troops moving to the left got tangled up in the fences and that slowed them right down, and by the time they got to the stream the Confederate troops had come over, so my plans got a bit screwed up, but that was the original plan. Joe on the other side, he said beforehand, his plan was to move his forces forwards in a general advance and just try and stop me wherever I came from. So they were the original ideas, and the game did play out pretty well as we expected. So with our initial deployments done, it was into the battle. So from my positions from the start of the game, I had pretty good line of sight into his. My artillery were lined up quite nicely, although in some of the valleys you couldn't quite see his troops yet. Like these chaps, they were just a bit too low to be shot at. On the right hand side, as his infantry advanced, I had a perfect line straight in on them and started hitting him heavily. Unfortunately, he massed both of his guns together and concentrated fire on me, which was a very good move from his part, and it's really hurt my troops. As I said, my plan was to move forwards on both wings and try and get the advantage on one side, and then whichever side was winning could swing to the opposite flank. But the concentrated fire on the right really took a toll. You can kind of see here where the shots were landing. So my troops on my right formed out into a line. It was my larger brigade, and they started advancing, but immediately, or within a few moments, one of my regiments got pinned after taking too many hits. On the left, they were advancing quite nicely and making a good bit of progress until they made it up to that wooden fence, and that's when disorder started to take effect and they slowed right down. The Confederate player on the other side, his troops moved pretty unobstructed. He did take some hits in the advance, but on both flanks his troops were able to move pretty well unimpeded, and he just kept blasting me. My troops did reach the river first, especially on the right hand side where I started to push across, but again crossing the river, and on the left flank, crossing these wooden fences slowed me right down again, which gave him a chance to catch up. And then it was my troops crossing versus his, so that was an advantage to him. He became the defender. I decided at this stage I would form line and just try and volley and try and win with mass shooting. But again, he kept blasting me with that artillery, which my troops weren't able to take. On the right hand side, as you can see, my troops were just getting bogged down in the fences, and on my right flank here I did manage to cross, but again his troops were now ready and hadn't taken the artillery pounding that I had. And now it really just came down to a slugging match with my troops starting to break and withdraw. I went from 3 down to 2, and then it was just one unit who then got flanked and was taking massive fire from all sides, and eventually they were wiped out, quite literally to a man. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the battle. I'm trying to convince my opponents to allow us to record the games rather than just use the stills, and I think that'll make the games, or should I say the videos, a lot more interesting, because you'll get all the talking and laughing, crying as the games progress. Fingers crossed I can convince them, and then we'll get a few different styles of videos going forwards. But I hope this one was to your liking. Please leave any suggestions in the comments. Always looking to make better videos, so yeah, any feedback would be really appreciated.